All right, listen here. Canada's my territory, Jack. You're going to need the United Nations to keep me from profiting on UFC Edmonton. If y'all didn't realize, it's the Halloween edition of the Die Hard MMA podcast. Welcome back, everybody. How you doing this week? I'm wearing the money chain, not because I'm rocking the baby blues, because I'm your favorite Les Grossman impersonator here on the podcast today. I had to dress up a little bit early for you guys. Audio listeners, you're missing out. Make sure you jump on the old YouTube to get the full experience this evening. I hope everybody's doing well. I can't see a single one of your names in the chat right now because these bad boys are not prescription, and believe it or not, I need them. We're coming off UFC 308, you guys, and I could not hit water if I fell out of a boat. All right. I do not know what is going on right now. We saw maybe one of the all-time worst robberies. I think the worst robbery or worst decision of 2024 when Leal did not get the decision win over Rinat Fakhretdinov. Now, I know everyone's going to be like, bro, we're in Abu Dhabi. What'd you expect? Don't bet against the guy with the V in his name. And you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, like, that just should have been, plain straight numero uno. They don't give two shits over there. They will rob you blind, and they've proven that time and time again. So somebody remind me, next time we do an Abu Dhabi card, I better see like 10 of you in the chat just being like, Clint, only bet offs. Clint, only bet offs. And so, yeah, that was frustrating. Could have started my night off just beautifully with a plus 200 casher, but instead, I just immediately felt a sick pit in my stomach that I was like, oh God, like I've said, it's gonna be one of those nights more times than I can count. You know how your buddy's got depression is when you go, hey man, how's it going? And he goes, it is what it is. Yeah, when that's your answer, your buddy needs help, okay? It's a cry. It's a cry for help. And whenever you see me at the beginning of a UFC card going, it's going to be one of those nights. That's been all of 2024, and it's starting to suck, you guys. So I was already upset right out the gates this past week. And then my big parlay, the one thing that was supposed to save me, and had it gone my way, would have been, at least gotten me even for the night. My guy, Mikbek Orolbai, which, this is one of those ones where I can't even say anything on, because there was never a chance for me not to parlay Mikbek Orolbai. I saw that guy a million miles away, had him circled as my prospect, a guy I loved, a guy that was going to run through this division and make waves, and he still might. But he came out and immediately took damage to his eye, and that put him behind the 8-ball. Fight damn near got stopped. Ended up being a split decision, and you guys know me. I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't even score it for my guy, right? Like, I had him losing 29-28. So when I heard it was a split decision, I had that brief little gasp of hope that maybe I might be able to win my money back on that parlay, and just got my soul absolutely crushed. The only thing I did right at UFC 308, you guys, is I didn't bet Rob Whittaker pre-flop. I said I was going to wait and see if he survived round one, and if he did, then we would bet live. That's the only thing I did right. So I dodged a bullet losing one more unit on Rob the Reaper because I did go ahead and wait, and he just got wrecked in that first round. So sad day, tough times, but you guys know me. I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm here betting on my favorite sport in the world, gambling my face off. I'm your friendly neighborhood degenerate, and we ain't stopping, okay? We ain't stopping. Never bet more than you can afford to lose, and you can just keep on going, right? So let's just keep doing that. I'm going to keep myself. I swore this year I was going to break 100 units in profit, and I'm this close to breaking 100 units in the negative. Amazing how that works, right? But we're gonna try and keep that from happening and at least chip away a little bit so we can go into 2025 with just a tidbit of momentum. We're gonna figure this out, and I need someone to just slap some sense into me. I need someone to absolutely set me on the right path here. And in that effort, I've brought on none other than your favorite Fight Ready team member, the best MMA fighter out of the state of Arizona, my guy Brandon Olivas. What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Hold on, Clint. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing about as well as I can be. Pockets are a little light, but the mood is good. The vibes are up. So here we go.
I was hearing you talk about Liao. Thank God I did not wake up on time because I would have lost everything on that.
Bro, did you watch the fight? Did you go back?
No, I haven't got to see it yet.
Okay. So round one, he brutalizes Rinat Fakhretdinov. And I'm like, this is it. This is finally going to be the guy that just smokes him in round 2 or round 3 and puts him down. You can see him starting to slow down a little bit in the second round where it's like, okay, that was a little closer. And I was like, in Abu Dhabi, it's probably 1-1 headed into 3. And then round 3, Rinat's EPO kicked in. And instead of him fading the way that we would kind of expect him to, it was another close round. I mean, all three, you could have scored the fight 30-27 for Liao. And if you were stateside, you probably would. But rounds 2 and 3 were close enough that it went 29-28 the other way. And there was that one judge, man, every single fight card, there's that one corrupt-ass judge scored at 30-27 for Rinat, where on no planet can you give round 1 to Rinat Fakhretdinov, but he gave it 30-27 to him. So it was unanimous. Even people that bet the +3.5 spread got robbed on it because of that.
It's killing me, man. The judging UFC has been harder this year. The markets are sharper than ever, and then you have the judging on top of that. This is becoming a very tough game. Very, very tough.
It is. It is. I'm glad you said it, man, because that's, I've always told people that I'm a degenerate first. I'm a fan of the sport first, and I started gambling on it for fun. And I've always had decent results, right? I'm not going to make you a millionaire. I'm not. That's not what this is. But I'm going to do my best, and I've always been lifetime profitable. As of now, I am not lifetime profitable. I'm in such a hole in 2024 that I can no longer say, since I started the podcast, that I'm lifetime profitable. And I'm not adjusting with what's happened in the sport this year, man. It's every single bad bounce that could hit goes against me. And the decisions, I take finished props. They're killing me. It's all chalk. No dogs are barking. It's killing me. I can't buy a win right now, man. I don't. And even when I do parlay a favorite, like what happened with Mikbek Oralbai, that's the one big dog on the damn card that comes through. I'll end up parlaying that guy every single week. I don't know how or why, but I find the fraud.
Yeah, it's tough, man. What's weird is I've been on the other end. I've been actually doing really well on UFC. And I have no idea why. Maybe the more square you go, the better, at least for a little bit. I don't know what's going on.
Seems like it right now, man. Seems like square is the way to be at the moment. But you know what? We'll do our best not to be too square, and we'll go ahead and break into this fight card for you guys. Hey, this is the home of fight, everybody. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Hit the like button, please, if you don't mind, and share the show out if you're on social media. But we'll get straight on into it. We're headed to Canada, baby. Let's go to the frozen north. Jack Shore takes on the Moroccan Devil up here in our first fight of the evening, at least based on what Tapology is saying. Last week they squirmed that around at the very last second. Nothing was the way that you thought it was going to be heading into the fight card first thing on Saturday morning. I love this fight, man. This is an extremely high-level fight. Jack Shore was kind of my dude for a little bit there. I truly believe in his ability to grapple and to push a pace. He seems like another one of these cardio guys that's always looking for the wrestling advantage, and he scrambles really well. I remember one of my shiniest moments ever was when DraftKings first dropped the MMA same game parlays, and he was fighting Makwan Amirkhani. And I was like, watch, he's going to get taken down in round 1, and then he's going to win inside the distance. And it was just a 2-legger, but you got plus 170 on it or something. Live betting Jack Shore after round 1 was minus 135. So I felt sharp as a tack. Now they won't let you do that kind of shit anymore. So that opportunity is gone. But I've had a pretty decent read on Jack Shore overall. He's 1-1 since moving up to 145 pounds. He's coming off that leg kick TKO loss to Barriault, where he just got his lower shin cut basically in half by chopping leg kicks from Barriault. Looks like one of the most painful fights we've ever seen, man. Those are the days.
I've never seen anything like that. Barriault just didn't care. That was the most insane performance.
I mean, First time Burrito's ever shown high fight IQ to keep on going back to the thing that's working, right?
I don't think that's high fight IQ. That's just called being Brazilian.
That too. No, man, but I can't imagine the pain of that kind of a TKO loss. But Jack Shore's tough as nails. He hung in there. The doctor stopped it. Youssef Zalal, I'll tell you, Brandon, I am all in on Youssef Zalal 2.0. Like, since he came back to the UFC, this kid found a mean streak. He's found his ability to finish. I love his back takes. I love his chokes. He's been aggressive. He comes forward a little bit more. He is super elusive in there, especially when you've got a big cage. He's hard to find. He's very, very solid defensive striking. I like the way he attacks the body. I'm a big fan of Youssef Zalal. The only problem is I feel like Jack Shore is going to test him in the grappling area, man. And that's where I feel like Youssef Zalal has the biggest advantage over most of his opponents. And with the type of run, elephant in the room, we talked about it right when I started the show, the type of run that I am on right now, I am not super interested in being extremely bullish on Youssef Zalal at minus 265 because I feel like grappler versus grappler, Shore's the kind of guy that can kind of hang in there with him a little bit. I feel like this fight will play out closer than that line suggests. And theme for 2024 is decisions, right? I'll say Youssef Zalal by decision is probably the outcome, but should be a hell of a fight, man. This one's going to be fun. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, I'm actually totally with you there. It's really hard for me to see a finish on either side. Jack Shore, I think Jack Shore's got like incredible skills. Like jiu-jitsu wise, he really is phenomenal. Nice educated jab. For me, I think both of these guys are the best guys that do everything well, but nothing exceptional. Both of them. They're both super durable. They both have good striking, good grappling, make good decisions. I like both of them a lot. I think that Jack Shore is still a little bit undersized for the division. And that's my big issue with Jack Shore in this matchup. Other than that, I think this is going to go to decision. I would give a slight edge to Zalal, and I'm with you. The price to me is out of hand. We actually have another matchup. I think that's going to be super close, and I think the price is kind of out of hand. First, Clint, can you hear me well?
Yeah. No, you're coming through just fine. No issues.
Okay, I'm just trying. I haven't played with my mic settings. I haven't been in this room in a long time, and last time it was, my mic was crazy. I think this is a very close fight. Just like you said, I think the size and speed and athleticism advantage is going to go to Zalal. And that's the only reason I give him the slight edge here. You know, Aaron's not really a grappler. I mean, clearly not a grappler, right? He's a really good striker, and that's about it. And then you had Billy Q, who came in with an injury, and it seemed like he kind of seeded that fight. So this Youssef Zalal 2.0, I'm not so sure about that. I think he's the same guy he's always been. I think he's been the benefactor of a couple good matchups with guys that either were hurt or not the right style matchup. So I think a very close competitive fight goes the distance. Zalal by decision, I think, are great plays.
All right. I'm glad to hear we're lining up on that. And I appreciate you going into the abandoned room here for the show tonight, man.
Yeah. I just walked in here. I had these fish I thought were dead. I've been abandoning them. Like, all right, let me just wait till they die. And now I'm going to go buy a fish tank because they're still surviving. So they deserve it, you know?
Oh man, if they've been abandoned in there and they made it this whole time, they absolutely deserve some swimming space, man. Get them some treats, some extra fish food, resiliency. Oh, that's awesome. All right, everybody, thank you for jumping in here. I can see that my little number ticker is up here. We've got about 300 live viewers in the chat. I see my boy Pepe Silva, and I cannot read the comment because I'm committing to the bit here, and I'm going to be Les Grossman from Tropic Thunder. So thank you for whatever you said there, Pepe Silva. I'll check it on the replay. Next fight up, we got Jamey-Lyn Horth, and she is bringing back Ivana Petrović to the UFC. Man, Jamey-Lyn Horth, I think, is a bit of a problem for the UFC. She's one of these girls that is brought in to make somebody else look good, and she's upsetting the apple cart, man. She's 1-1 so far. She's 34 years old. I feel like she's nothing to write home about, but she's just solid everywhere. You know, I've been talking about how Haley Cowan is somebody who I want to fade in the UFC, and they keep on trying to make her a thing. For whatever reason, she's popular. They want to push her. She sucks. I don't think she's good at all. And I'm pretty sure I bet Jamey-Lyn Horth.
That's my friend. Be nice.
Oh, see, this is the problem with doing a betting podcast, especially when you're a fan of the sport, is you say things about people. And it's like, man, I'm talking from a betting perspective.
My friend, be nice.
Okay. Open mouth, insert foot. Chew well. Here we go. I apologize to Miss Cowan. I'm not looking to put my money on her. We'll leave it at that. But anyway, Jamey-Lyn Horth, she's big, man. She's got some big tree trunk thighs on her. She kind of lumbers her way forward. She's got a decent jab. She's tough. She's durable. She's from an age bygone of women's MMA. You know what I mean? She doesn't do anything spectacularly, but she's tough and durable enough to get in there and just kind of do the damn thing. And in women's MMA, that'll take you. That'll take you places because the toughness and physicality in women's MMA, I think, decides a lot of these fights. So Horth is just kind of doing the damn thing at 34 years old. Ivana is also 1-1 in the UFC. She's 30 years old now, which I actually thought she was a decent bit younger than that. So it kind of surprises me. She's one of these prospects that's almost, I guess you would say, maybe fully developed. You know, it all goes downhill at 30, man. I can promise you that. So she's definitely not going the right. Well, I'm turning 36 this year, so I just have personal experience to let you know. After 30,
up on me,
starts to creep the other direction there. Petrović is going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here in this spot, and I like the way she scrambles. You know, she won't give up on herself. She gets in these fights and she's diving on legs and going for ankles, and yeah, she's tough, man. She looked for the kill in every single second until her last fight was over in a losing effort. But the one thing I saw I really didn't like is the fact that she got stuck on her back. You know, that trusting of her jiu-jitsu to the point that she is willing to stay down there because she can't keep getting up anymore. She can get kind of out physicaled. And that's really all this fight comes down to, me, man. I think Ivana is not going to be physically tough enough or strong enough to battle with Horth on the feet, or when it turns into a clinch. I think Horth will find herself on top, and that'll be that. You know, I don't know that Horth's going to finish her. She'll have to watch her knees and her ankles, but as long as she doesn't get knee barred or something like that, I think it's another Horth boring by decision, unfortunately, and another over.
I am not going to lie to you. I forgot to take this one. I know Jamey-Lyn Horth. Yeah, just big, strong, physical girl, and going really close in a fight like that with Hardy is really, really good. Because I remember I had Hardy pretty big in that matchup too. Just fast, explosive, dynamic, zips in and out versus kind of a solid, consistent striker of Jamey-Lyn Horth. What's the odds on this one?
You've got Jamey-Lyn Horth in a spot where you never want her to be, and that's as a big favorite. She's minus 205, plus 170. It looks like for Ivana.
Oh wow, yeah, that's something. If I remember right, just from the tape, first of all, Petrović fought Luana Carolina, who is super awkward and really like weirdly good these days. I always get shit on my podcast because I always say she's the female Anderson Silva. It's so great. But that's just an awkward person to fight because even if she does get taken down, she's like wiry and gangly and throwing stuff up. So I understand not being able to get your game off against somebody like that. You know, at the end of the day, Petrović is very good looking. And she's younger and all this stuff, like good grappler. Like there's so many things that the UFC would want to push here. Just based on no tape, just knowing the two girls, Horth is, again, another one of those people who's good everywhere, but not phenomenal anywhere. Petrović, good grappler, good game like that. So I'd say like probably dog or pass in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's probably going to go to a decision these days. That's where everything is going. So yeah, I don't mind the dog or pass call here. And I'll be honest with you, man, I want to see what the numbers look like when sub drops, just because of the way she dives for ankles. I could see her catching Horth in something, just levels to the grappling. You know what I mean? I could see her not knowing how to defend an ankle lock or a figure 4 toe hold. So I would want to look at that number and see what it does. I think that's probably her best path to victory.
You have to remember though too, when you have women have such flexible legs. So and I'm purely talking about the grappling aspect now. It's just women's ankles and knees are so flexible. It's really hard to finish those. Especially in an MMA fight, you have adrenaline, you have sweat, you have so much stuff. So if that's what you're counting on, unless it's an insane number, like I'm talking 1,000, 1,200, I would just be careful.
Absolutely. Just spitballing props over here, man. Nothing says she can't find a back take at some point in there or something in a scramble.
That's the better option. Yeah, I'll get Petrović on the phone. We'll talk.
There you go. I like it. You'll have to let me know how that goes. My guy Chris in the chat, I can make this one out, just barely though. He says, not everyone can be your guy or girl. Watch me, Chris. Absolutely anybody can be my guy and girl. We're in Canada, baby. Half this card is my guy, my girl. And he was talking about our girl led Luana Dread Carolina. You know, I've been betting her and calling her my girl for her last 4 or 5 fights. So yes, they can be. And I'm going to stick to it. I do not discriminate. I have a lot of love to give. Next fight up, you've got Chad Anheliger. He's taking on Cody the Renegade Gibson. And Chad Anheliger is not my guy, Brandon. Our boy Liam picks fights. That's his boy. And I've got nothing but respect for Chad Anheliger. He is one of these durable, tough as nails, refuse to quits. I mean, B- version of Darren Elkins. Like, I feel like he's got a lot of the same
that's a good one.
attributes. You know what I mean? He kind of does the same thing, except he can get choked out. Whereas Darren Elkins has spectacular submission defense. No one's able to find that neck. Not on my boy. Cody Gibson, on the other hand, I see what they're trying to do here, Brandon. I see what they're trying to do. They're sending the American up there to go ahead and tap out the Canadian who can't grapple. Chad Anheliger has 6 wins. I'm sorry, 6 losses. 6 losses on his record by sub. Whereas Cody Gibson seems to struggle unless he can get you grappling. He just tapped out Ryan Boom Kelleher, friend of the show. Hate to see it, but that's what he did. He's big. He's a bit of a bully. He likes his front kicks. He's strong. He's got good back takes. He's a quick scrambler for a guy that is that big. And that's kind of the way I see this fight going. I mean, it's not a great breakdown. It's not super in depth or anything like that. Chad Anheliger is a guy that will fight for your money, but anytime he's going up against somebody who can lock up a choke, I look to lean the other way, man. What do you make of this fight?
This is I'll tell you, if you're trying to get your bounce back, Clay, I should have looked at the whole card before I agreed for this week, because this week's hard, really hard.
It is.
So many of these fights, like, they're either really, really closely lined, or you have a really big favorite that probably shouldn't be a really big favorite. So this is a really, really tough week. And Anheliger is tough, man. He's like a little engine that could. He did have a really tough fight with Charlampos, and Charlampos had 1 round of cardio, and he still, did he get him out of there, or was that go to decision? I think that went to decision, right?
I believe it did.
Okay. Yeah, I like Cody Gibson in the spot only because he's just crazy high volume. He can grapple. Like, the dude's just got a crazy engine. I think both these guys can end up on their back, and they can get grappled, both of them. I don't think Anheliger is as bad of a grappler as you think that he is. And I don't know maybe if Cody Gibson's as good as you think that he is either. He's okay. He's just a big body, big high volume. Honestly, I think this is going to go decision again. I like Cody by decision, just filling the space, filling the volume, mixing in the takedown every once in a while. Yeah. And Anheliger going to work back up to his feet. Cody's going to throw some knees, some elbows, and then it's going to be just a volume fest, I think.
Yeah. No, I like it. I will have the moment that I called Chad Anheliger upsetting Charlampos, but being too afraid to actually bet it in the last fight. I'll be able to put that one up on the refrigerator.
I was so confident in Charlampos in that fight, and he just put a beating on him.
That was my PSA for the week. You know what I mean? I told everybody, I was like, I don't know if I can actually get to Chad. That's a live bet spot, but don't parlay Charlampos. Like, that's, I was like, I think this guy might be a bit of a fraud, but if you don't put your money where your mouth is, you can't take credit for it. So all I did was say words on a podcast, unfortunately. Kate in the chat says, Dogger pass? No. Blindly bet the favorite? Yes. In 2024, Kate, that has been absolutely the move. Rope Lord says that Clint's lost more money than hair this year, and that's not a lie. That is, believe it or not, the hairline hanging on for dear life up here. That is somehow an accurate statement. Next fight up, man, we've got Siri Sydney. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. He is taking on Garrett Armfield, and Armfield's a guy that's been a little up and down, back and forth in the last couple of years. I'm a fan. I didn't know what to make of Garrett Armfield at first, but his last couple of fights, I've really kind of started to, he's growing on me a little bit. He's 2-2. Both of his losses are by submission finish. Both of his wins, well, not both of them, I'd say relatively impressive. Takanori Kazama, he's not exactly UFC caliber. We'll find out. He got on the horse a little bit his last fight, but he's a guy that comes out and goes life and death. Garrett Armfield put him away in the first round. The decision win over Brad Katona really was the one that kind of stuck out to me. I've got nothing but respect for Brad Katona and the way that he knows how to weasel his way to winning fights and, mixing in the game and doing whatever he's got to do. This guy came out there and put up big time numbers on Brad Katona and ended up winning a very spectacular decision, showed off his hands, showed off his power. And that was the one that had me kind of buying in, but you can see he still tends to fade just a little bit. And that's where David Onama, Brady Heastan, these guys that can either control and or take the beating and then turn the tables on him late as he starts to tire out, slow down, make him wrestle. That's where you can kind of take advantage of him. Now, City, coming off of Dana White's Contender Series, this was a really weird spot. He fought the same guy back-to-back fights. On Dana White's Contender Series, it was a bit of an early stoppage against Tavares. So Dana White says, okay, we'll get you both on the big stage. Let's run it back. He immediately loses a split decision to the exact same opponent. Now, I don't want to talk too much trash on City. That was a good back and forth, tough fight. I kind of like what I see from him just, in general, but he's obviously got some work to do on that overall well-rounded game. And, man, I like how he's tall, he's long. I like how he aggressively comes forward. But I also feel like that's really going to play into Garrett Armfield's style. This is going to be a banger, man. This could be one of those contenders for fight of the night, I feel like, just because both these guys are going to come forward and look to swing and get in there and do damage. I've got a slight lean here to Garrett Armfield to kind of right the ship against the guy who hopefully doesn't have the same kind of, godlike cardio and comeback ability here in this spot. And I think Armfield's probably going to take this fight, but I'm not overly confident in that because I'm still not exactly sure where he's at. What about you, man? What are you doing on this one?
This is an amazing fight. So I guess when I said like, man, I wish I would have looked at the card. There's just a lot of really good competitive fights. I actually can't wait for this week. This fight this fight really sticks out to me. I will say Armfield is one of my favorite punchers in MMA. That dude, he sits down on his punches and he really cracks. Like that kid is good. He can wrestle his ass off. He's an incredible grappler. I love him being with Ogden. Like that's a great coach, great mentor, great game planning. That dude is awesome. I think Armfield's great. I remember when C-Rod actually was going to fight, the very first fight he got offered in the UFC was Armfield. And I was like, ooh, that's a banger. C-Rod versus Armfield is a banger.
That'd have been fun.
C-Rod still kind of wanted that fight. Yeah. So maybe that does happen somewhere down the line.
Give me C-Rod round 3, baby. I know he'll get that choke in round 3 against this guy.
Oh, yeah. Now
I'll have to go through hell to get there, though.
Smokes him, yeah. But, for me, I think this fight is somewhat linear. Saidi is not he's just one of those stick around guys, high volume. He's gonna, he can get taken down, but he'll stand right back up and then just put pace on you. And that's one thing I really do like about Saidi. He's not phenomenal anywhere, but again, he's one of those cardio and pace guys. And I think that this is actually going to be a good spot for him. I think to me, Armfield's got real good knockout power in round 1. And like you said, the more that he grapples, the more that he does that stuff. And I think he's going to have to, because Saidi is all pressure, right? He's going to put jabs out there. He's going to pressure you. And I think it's going to force Armfield at some point to shoot. And the more that he shoots, the more that Saidi stands up, the more it's going to wear on his muscles. And then you're talking about slowing down round 2, round 3. So I think it's a very, very close competitive fight. If the fight ended and you told me that Armfield knocked him out KO 1, I believe it. And it's probably going to be a great number for that too. Because Saidi's got a little button on his chin, right? Tavares hurt him so many times, especially in that fight. But I will say I think Tavares is a much better boxer than Armfield is. But I think Saidi probably wins a decision. I don't really think Brady Hiestand has amazing cardio. That dude just kind of decided to dog it out, right? He's just like, all right, we're both drowning, but I'm going to just swim a little bit faster than you, and I'm going to go get this.
He refuses to die. I love that dude.
Yeah, man, that kid's a gamer. So I like Saidi probably by decision here, but I'm going to go Saidi.
Okay.
Close fight, great fight.
And we're catching on, guys. We're catching on. It's decision props all day, man. I'm kicking myself because last week I was like, it is Basharat by decision. It's always Basharat by decision. They chalk it up to -175. Didn't matter. Didn't fucking matter. We could have just shipped it on Basharat by decision and called it a day.
Death, taxes, and Bosch by decision. I had a Basharat round 2, 3 KO, and then he wobbled him round 2 and almost finished him. And I was like, oh shit, it's plus 1,200. And then, of course, why ever get your hopes up with a Basharat guy,
Exactly. Dude, I keep telling myself I got to start taking these low-hanging fruit opportunities. And that's what I thought I was doing with some of these 2-leg parlays. I've been wrong on those. I've been finding the frauds on the cards. It's these greasy-ass decision props. I keep talking myself into, well, maybe he'll gas. Maybe he'll sub him in round 3. They never do. They're just going to lay on them. They're just going to do whatever it takes to get their hand raised and get this bad boy to decision. So take the decision props, man. We're going to start looking for those because right now people are printing if you've been taking decision props.
Yeah, this isn't boxing. Boxing is pretty much, okay, we already know who's going to win. So then your options are knockout, decision, draw. So you have 3 options in boxing, right? You already know who the A side is. With MMA, you have 7 different options. Knockout, submission, decision for both guys, plus a draw. That makes things so much tougher. And MMA is so fickle, right? We're just we're getting screwed on these prop bets anyways. 50% of the fights go to decision. So even if you don't think it's going to hit, bet whoever you think is going to win and by decision, and you're going to be much better off.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. We're shifting the game plan over here. That's what we're doing. All right, guys. Next up, we've got Alexandr Romanov, and he's taking on Rodrigo Nascimento up next. We got the big boys. You guys know I've got a soft spot in my heart for Alexandr Romanov, but I think I'm done with him. I'm ready to wad him up and put him in the trash can. I'll be honest with you, Brandon. I love the guy. I love how he like chucks his coach halfway across the cage after every fight that he wins. This man is fully capable of hip tossing 400-pound grown-ass fighting adults. Like, it's insane what he's able to do. But he might be just the number one hammer versus nail bar setter. Like, he is the most hammered hammer that you've ever seen in your life when he's in control positions. He's also maybe the worst nail I've ever seen. So I can't figure out what to do with this guy, because when he wins, it's ground and pound King Kong style, forearm to the throat choke, just bully bullshit to get his opponents out of there early in the fight. But every single time we've seen the tables turned on him, he's ready to go home. He'll fold up his chair and he'll say, thank you for the paycheck, and he'll see you next week. He's just done as soon as you turn it around on him. And anytime he gets anybody that's half decent, that's what happens. You know, Marcin Tybura coming back on him was just gross. You know, Volkov wrecked him like he's never, like nothing else. Jailton Almeida tapped him out in the first round. Like, this guy is not built for the top 5. Absolutely not. Maybe not even the top 10 in the thinnest division the UFC's got. Rodrigo Nascimento, 11-2. 31 years old, still pretty young, surprisingly. You know, he's got 2 losses on his record by knockout. He's got a bunch of submissions. This guy's got fast hands. He's kind of that crazy Brazilian where, you know, knees, elbows, he likes to get aggressive, come forward, cut the cage off, front kicks up the middle. But then he's also got that submission threat. Not many of these big men do the way that he does on the ground. He was able to get by Dante Almeida. He got the split over Ilir Latifi, split over Bozer. So, I mean, he's like right there, man. That 3-fight winning streak is damn near fraudulent, you know, and getting in there on my boy Derek Lewis when they matched those two up. That was a beauty. They gave us an almost even money price tag on Derek Lewis, and that was gorgeous. A opportunity of a lifetime. I didn't make as much money on that as I should have. But I like the overall game of Rodrigo Nascimento. The difference between these two guys is I think Rodrigo can go a full 15 and keep the offense up. I'm not sure Romanov can. Romanov's got to get this guy down on the ground and keep him there. And if he can't keep him there, he's dead. I kind of feel like Rodrigo's takedown defense will be the tail of this fight. I don't want anything to do with Romanov, man. I'm giving up on him on this one. He could get this guy to the ground, and if he slows down and just like lays on him, I guess maybe there's some decision opportunity there. But this is where we know Romanov can't go 15. So not Rodrigo Nascimento by decision. Let's talk Rodrigo Nascimento round 2, round 3, right after I gave the speech about decisions being the way to gamble. I think I'm going to pick Nascimento in this one, man. What about you?
I think I'm going to go Romanov, actually. I think this is a good buyback spot. Yeah, because I think he can get on top, right? I think he's going to, I mean, honestly, you want to look at it, Romanov can get anybody in the world down. I think that dude, like, he can wrestle his ass off. Now, the problem is how much gas does he expend doing that, right? Of course, that's always the thing. I think he's gonna get him down. I think he's gonna get on top, and I think he's gonna punish him. And I think Nascimento's battery is gonna get drained a little bit too. You know, it's not gonna be this tepid striking affair that he's used to. All he really needs, in my opinion, is probably 1 takedown per round. You look at Tybura. Tybura doesn't get enough credit for how good of a grappler he is. His jiu-jitsu is really, really good. His scrambling ability, even his athleticism for a guy as big as he is, that really had to make Romanov work, right? And then Romanov still hung around in that fight. That's a much higher level guy than Nascimento. Maybe not as good of a striker, but he's certainly a good grappler, and I would take Tybura in that fight every day of the week. Yeah, I mean, plus money on the guy that's going to have a huge grappling advantage. You know, even on the feet, I think he can win some minutes. He throws bombs, and you know, I don't know, not a huge case for him as far as his heart and the volume, but I think that the grappling upside is going to be massive for him. Anytime he wants to get him down, do a little forearm choke, make him turn his back, pound him out, it's over. I like Romanov in this spot.
Inside the distance, it sounds like too.
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just going to pick Romanov. Plus money is good enough for me.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And it is ever so slight plus money. I'm seeing like plus 102. So just barely hanging on there. But hey, good enough, man. I'll take it. Those are the only kind of dogs that I see coming through most of these cards these days, is the ones that are practically coin flips, or like the line actually flipped where they were favored and now they're the slight underdog. Like I freaking Ibo Aslan last week, which, man, you know I'm struggling when I end up putting money on a fight like that. I called Ibo Aslan by knockout, but I was like, guys, these guys are both terrible, so I'm not going to bet this fight. And then by the end of the week, I had talked myself into like the myth of his opponent having grappling like his teammate Jailton Almeida somehow. And I ended up betting him. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, I called it right the first time just based on my own eyeballs and research, and somehow found a way to bet against my own read. Got to quit doing that shit, man. That's the fastest.
Yeah, you gotta. What do you say? Trust your balls. You gotta trust your balls more.
Exactly, and that's I will tell you, Brandon. I have not been trusting my balls this year, and I'm playing scared. You know, I'm playing scared, and somehow I'm making bad bets when I should be trusting my balls. We're gonna get back to that. Speaking of a guy who trusts his balls, Charles Air Jourdain is maybe the ball trustiest guy in the UFC. His Instagram account is hysterical. Like the shit that he posts never ceases to get me. He's taken on Victor Henry, and I love Victor Henry, man. He's a guy that kind of came out of left field. He's a little bit old, but he's also really freaking good. He's got a ton of experience, 24-6, 37 years old, and I am still concerned about his balls. Like, I don't know if he ever fully recovered from what Javid did to this man in Abu Dhabi. Like that whole situation was absolutely insane. He gets a no contest due to the worst nut shots we've ever seen in history. The referee tried to tell him to man up and get his ass back in there. Unreal. He comes back and he beats Ronnie Yahya. Big round 3 TKO victory over a guy who's historically been very tough to actually put away in Ronnie Yahya. Charles Jourdain, one of my favorite blood and guts types of fighters, you know. He just wants to go out there and go to war every time. Him and Chris Curtis, they're trying to find Valhalla together, man. That's all they want to do is put on good fights. So one thing I've reminded myself every time this guy fights, you can't count on him to necessarily follow a game plan. You know, you can't necessarily count on him to do the right thing because he's not in there for that. He's a Justin Gaethje type. Like, he just wants to go in there and fight his ass off. And if he's bleeding at the end of it and gets his hand raised, great. If he's bleeding at the end of the fight and he gets a 50K bonus for fight of the night, that's fine too. He doesn't care. But he's got skills everywhere. He's aggressive. He comes forward. He's generally been pretty durable. I mean, Gene Silva seems to be able to knock anybody out in this division that he wants to, so I'm not really going to hold that against him. Most of the times when Charles Jourdain loses, it is by decision, but he fights close with almost everybody. The split to Sean Woodson. I mean, he caught Ricardo Ramos in that guillotine choke beautifully, but even like a guy like Kron Gracie went to decision with. So as much as he's an offensive cannon these days, he does end up fighting in very tightly contested matchups for the most part. He does have a lot of round 3 action. I always do enjoy that little round 3 sprinkle on this guy when he's got an opponent you can finish. But I don't think that's what you've gotten, Victor Henry. This guy's never been finished. His only losses are by decision his entire career. So I feel like this one's probably going the full 15. I will say hometown cooking got my ass in Abu Dhabi. So I'm trying not to overcorrect because hometown cooking is a real thing. We've seen that now. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. So I want to say Jourdain, but I feel like Victor Henry's maybe being a little bit overlooked in this fight. He's got tons of volume. He can wrestle. He can grapple. He's got pace. I think I'm going to pick Victor Henry, man. What about you? What do you like here?
Yeah, well, one thing I want to say about the hometown bias, like I think you forget, the UFC flies in the judges, they fly in the referees, they fly in everybody. So the hometown bias is not really so much hometown, but when you go to a place like Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and you got the sheiks with the money, that's a very big difference. The Muslims, right? That's a huge difference. Canada, who gives a shit about Canada? I don't even give a shit about Canada. And we've seen so many times the Canada cards, like all the Canadians just shit the bed, right? Happens all the time. I'm very brutal, curious. Man. Yeah,
their backyard fight, they all lost.
Yeah, that was crazy. Capped off by Mike Malott was hilarious.
I know.
I can't get a read on this fight because, right, typically when people move down, we see a couple different things, right? Sometimes it's increased cardio. Like you had Chidi Njokuani, right? He looked so much better actually at a smaller weight class than he did at a bigger weight class. But then one thing you always have to worry about is the chins. But I look at Charles Jourdain, and Santino swears to me that he's small. He tells me all the time that I'm bigger than Charles Jourdain. He goes, that dude is tiny, tiny, tiny. He should have been a 35er his whole career. So I'm not really sure like what impact this is going to have. I think he's going to be fine. I don't think it's a massive cut for Jourdain. His cardio has never really been in question or never been an issue. So I don't know how this is going to work for Jourdain. He's a dynamic striker. He's super good, man. I really like him. I think I like the simplicity of Victor Henry's game. Like I'll never forget the Raoni Barcelos fight, right? He matched him volume for volume. And to me, that guy is one of the best to ever do it. I know he's lost a bunch of fights, but skill for skill, that dude is incredible. And Victor beat his
I feel
ass.
like the UFC waited Ronnie Barcelos out, man. I really feel like it was like, for whatever reason, they didn't like him and they like gave him tough matchups and didn't get him in there. Cause when he was prime, that guy was a beast. I really felt like he could have done more.
I mean, he still is. He's still that good. That guy to me is one of the best. Like a Brazilian national team wrestling member, ultra black belt in jiu-jitsu, and his dad's a coral belt. And then he's an incredible striker box. I mean, that dude's one of the best. He's just fought every tough guy on the planet you possibly could, even pre-UFC. Like that dude's he's insane. And Victor just didn't balls of steel. Like he just doesn't care. These CMMA guys, these California MMA guys, they're really good, man. I really like what Chad George is doing out there. Great game planning. Just he always has his guys in shape, right? We saw Taco Padilla. I'm just meaning that camp is awesome. So for me, it's going to be Victor Henry also. Again, not a fight I have a ton of conviction in because these two guys are really, really similar in a lot of ways. Both crafty kind of jiu-jitsu guys, high volume, exciting, like in your face kind of guys. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a huge size difference. I think I like Victor Henry in this spot.
I like it. And man, you and me are lining up on the same side on that one. We're going to make that the Link Memorial Dog of the week. Guys, it has been tough. It has been tough in the year of our Lord 2024. I tried to honor my boy Link after just destroying 2023 with underdogs left and right. There's barely any dogs this year, man. It is so hard to call a dog on a card. I'm getting plus 105 on Victor Henry, and that's going to be the tiny little bitty chihuahua that nips at your ankles. That's going to be the dog of the week, trying to steal one and move through, because this is not necessarily the card for me, I feel like, to go dog hunting. I know Canada likes to shit the bed, but there's not a ton of dogs on this card that I'm just in love with. So we'll see if Victor Henry can get the decision and go that way. I do think it would be a decision. And honestly, if anybody's still offering the split decision prop out there these days, this is probably a fight that earns a split decision, just because it's going to be high volume, back and forth, scrambly. Was that?
Did that get pulled? No split decision.
You know what? I don't know if they actually pulled it or not, but with how many split decisions we've had this year, I know the number's gone down. You know, it used to be like a sexy bet that you could make for a split decision, but there's 5 every card now. So it's the number's been squashed a little bit there. I'm not sure it's even worth playing anymore. We'll see when the number drops, but that's the way to go. You know, Hunter in the chat saying that Renat lives rent free in my head. My boy, you're in the chat talking to yourself every single fucking Monday. I'm rent free in your head, baby. All right, everybody, real quick, let's shout out the sponsors. First and foremost, this is Home of Fight, and my guy Matty Betts. Can you believe it? He actually hit for 100K this past week at UFC 308. It was absolute madness. I can't believe he actually pulled that shit off. I'm having the worst year of my life. You guys know this, but the premium picks for Home of Fight have been absolutely smashing. We gave out promo code 308 for you to get a 5-day free trial last week. I believe that might still be active. We'll get a new promo code for this week, so I will get that for you, and I'll update the description below. But check out the Home of Fight premium plays. Use the winnable link below if you guys want to check out those premium picks. They are up over 90 units in the year 2024. So tail them instead of me if you're actually looking for somebody to buy picks from. Next up, we want to shout out Spectation Sports. Promo code DieHard will get you 20% off your subscription. They've got awesome shows coming up. Mecca's right around the corner, I think just at the end of the week. If you're looking for an alternative to Fight Pass, or if you're researching guys that are going to be on, undercards, Dana White's Contender Series next season, these are the shows where you're going to find them. And if you just want more MMA that you can bet on, this is a subscription that you're going to need to have. If you're a serious DFS gambler using tools, things like that, you're going to need to use Fight Numbers. Our guy John Kelly with some of the best tools in the game, the best odds board in the game. Of course, they also have premium picks. They've got a trends tool that's been extremely helpful. Make sure you guys check out and support John Kelly. Link in the description below for that as well. And then finally, Bet Openly. You guys know they're the sportsbook sponsor over here with me, and it's peer-to-peer betting. It's not a sports book. Anybody who's accepting the action on Bet Openly is another degenerate on the other side of the bet. And we've saved over $8 million for gamblers using this platform, and that number is just going up, and it's going up faster every time I check it, because more and more of you are figuring out that this is the way of the future. You're paying 1% juice instead of minus 110. You're getting plus 100 on everything that you bet. It's that simple, and that's better than any deposit code you're ever going to get, because it's lifetime. It's always going to feed back through, and you'll be saving money long term doing it. Now that we've got all the sports going, it's the equinox today is what they call it, where every single sport is available. Spread bets, same thing. If you want to bet on my Utah Hockey Club tonight, formerly the Coyotes, minus 1.5 is plus 104. You can see the plus 1.5 on the other side is minus 104. The number is always going to match. You'll get the best number in the market on this page. So make sure you guys check out.
That's what they're called right now, the Utah Hockey Club?
Yeah, it's pretty lame, man. They're going full on Commanders with it, where they're going to do 1 year of merch with the Utah Hockey Club. They've picked the name already. They're going to be the Yeti. Everyone knows it, but they're not going to release it until next season so they can sell double the T-shirts.
That is insane. Oh my God, that ruined my whole day. Okay.
Right? Yeah. They're like, we need time to iron it out and make sure it's all official. And no, they don't. They know what the name's going to be. They're going to sell Utah Hockey Club shirts for a year, and then, change the jerseys, new designs, and everyone will buy it again the next time around.
Yeah. Okay.
Corporate America, baby. Let's go.
Jeez, that sucks. They took my team, man. That's all I ever like to do was go to the hockey games.
We got nothing. You and me both. I'm so mad. Well, and even when we do finally get an expansion team, it's not going to be the same boys. We're not going to get our boys back. Dylan Gunther's still going to be out in freaking Salt Lake City, and I'm not going to get him, watch him playing hockey. We're going to get some washed up old scrub or something. Marchand will be over here.
Hey.
All right, guys. Let's get back into this card. We still got some good fights to talk about here. If you don't know Brandon Olivas, you absolutely should. He's a member of Fight Ready over there. He's actually an MMA fighter, 1-0 professional, and just an all-around great guy. Also the man who broke DraftKings single-handedly. So make sure you're checking him out. Him and Santino have a podcast every single week that you want to listen to. It's gold, man. It's gold, especially the producer behind the camera that always likes to chime in, my guy Camwella Kirk. I love every time he gets caught between the two of you. It's hysterical.
That's great. We actually have a lot going on this week. So I know I told you this show specifically I wanted to do because I got a lot of work in with Amir for this camp. I did a lot of his rounds. I did a lot of his grappling. I've worked with Amir a ton. And then next week so this week Santino will be with Amir in Edmonton. And then next week, Camuela, our producer, is fighting. So we're actually taking the week off next week. Yeah.
Dude, I'm so stoked Camuela is going to get back in there for a fight. I've been waiting. I feel like his UFC run could have gone better. And I actually believe I bet on him in like every single fight that he had while he was under the UFC banner. So I'm pumped for him to get back on the horse and see what he can do.
Me too, man. He's a good guy. He really deserves it. I almost actually took a short notice on this card too, but so I didn't. Damn. Next time.
While we're on the subject, somebody in the chat earlier was asking if you've got a fight booked. Are you like targeting? Do you have any idea when you're going to get back in there?
I've really been trying because I have been sparring with so many good guys. Like I said, I did a ton of Amir's sparring for this camp. I did Ichilang, Aori, whatever. We just call him AQ for the Raul Rosas fight. I was sparring with Hunter Azure, former UFC, former Jack Shore opponent, beat Jack Shore last week. So I've just been sparring with all these guys, and I'm doing really, really, really well against everybody. And right now, my biggest thing is like my weight class. I don't know what I am right now. I'm too heavy to be a flyweight, and I feel too small to be a bantamweight. So I'm trying to figure out the right opponent. A lot of people have turned me down recently. So we're just trying to find the right guy. If I could get a guy that's a small 35er, all right, we're in. I'll make it next week. I'm fighting well, I'm sparring well, but just time and place got to be right.
I would never turn you down, Brendan.
Oh, thanks.
All right. Next fight up, you guys. We got Amin Zahabi. He's taking on Pedro, the Young Punisher, Munoz. And Brendan, I need your help. I have never been able to make heads or tails of Amin Zahabi. He's one of these guys who's just been like on the edge of really good to me. And I'm not sure if he's really that good or if he's just an old middle of the road type of guy. Does he have power? Like, I know he's kind of good everywhere, but when he fought, speaking of AQ, when he fought AQ, I was sold down the river because I was like, the one thing that you can count on for AQ is he is stupid durable. You cannot knock this man out. I came on this podcast and I looked in the camera and I said, you cannot knock out Jamey-Lyn. That's the only knockout on this guy's record. He got knocked out clean by freaking Aiemann Zahabi. And I'm like, what? Did anybody get the number on that bus? Because that take aged horrifically. So I'm not sure if he's got stupid power. I'm not sure if he's the best striker. He seems like he's very, very good everywhere. But again, I don't feel like he really stands out to me quite anywhere. Getting the win over Javid Basharat is aging pretty well at this point. But besides that, Ricky Tercios, Draco Rodriguez, he lost to my guy Vince Morales, another one of my guys. Yeah, so I mean, I don't feel like Aiemann is as good as his last couple wins have kind of shown him to be. And that's really what's gotten me in trouble recently, is a lot of people are taking face value on these fights, and you parlay up the favorites and it just works, right? Like, I don't believe until someone like changes my mind that they're special. I simply don't believe that they are. And that's kind of where I'm stuck right now with Aiemann Zahabi. I don't fully believe. But Pedro Munoz is anything but young as far as being the young Punisher. He's 38 years old. King of the leg kicks. I will die on the hill that he won round one against Sean O'Malley, and that fight should not have been treated as a win for Sean after he eye poked the poor guy to death. He got a win over Chris Gutierrez, and since then it's been back-to-back losses, Kyler Phillips and Marlon Vera. We're seeing kind of the decline here, a little bit of Pedro Munoz, but he still got it. He can still get in there and whoop some ass. He's losing to really good guys. Jose Aldo, Dominic Cruz, Marlon Vera, Kyler Phillips. I mean, he's still fighting the top end of the division, but he's a little undersized, and unless he can get you to trade in the pocket with him the way Cody did, he's probably not going to knock you out, so it's tough going here these days for Pedro Munoz. I want to pick Aiemann Zahabi for Canada on the Canada card because Pedro Munoz is headed the wrong direction, but I have zero confidence in that, man. What do you like here?
I think this is a huge discount on Pedro. I do like Zahabi. I've always been a big Zahabi guy. I've always been a big Zahabi guy. And I think he's really, really good. Like, again, he's just one of those guys that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's a really educated striker. But it wasn't that long ago that we were like, man, this guy's got a chin. Like, he sucks. He's all this stuff. A lot of people were saying that kind of stuff. And I've always been the number one defender of Zahabi. I do want to speak on the AQ thing. Yeah, he is durable. I remember there was a few times in camp, and I'm not known for being a striker, but I cracked him, and he said if you were just a quarter inch below, he's like, I was out. Like, I rocked him a few times. So he is extremely durable. That dude is like, man, he's game to fight always, but he can be hurt. It's not like I don't think Zahabi's got like this insane, crazy power by any means. Just right shot, right time, like just caught him. I think that's
everybody's got a button
too. Yeah, I like man, I love Pedro's game. It's just like pressure, leg kicks, always game, little fire hydrant, insane chin. Like a lot of these things that we talk about with age, it's the chin goes from so much sparring, so much impact on your chin and your jaw, and your connectivity goes, and then you just start slipping. But Pedro really hasn't shown much of that at all. I mean, the dude's still a little fire hydrant. He still fights the same way. He's still having competitive fights with the top level guys. I think to beat Basharat, right, you have to have really good takedown defense, and you got to fill the space a little bit more. One of these guys is going to get to them again. Victor Hugo even had his moments in that fight, like a lot of moments in that fight. And then I think Farid's the better one. Javid is really, really good too, but not like a dangerous game. I think this fight's going to be different. I think it's going to be Pedro pressing Aiemann the entire time. I think he's going to leg kick him, just bully him. I like Pedro on this spot. I think this is a really, really nice discount on this spot here.
Wow. All right. So a little bit of a dissenting opinion here between the two of us. I am not motivated or convicted at all. My guy Brandon seems to think it's a discount on Pedro Munoz. You love to see it. Interesting. All right, guys. Next up, we have Ariane. They messed up her name. It is not Lipski. It is De Silva. And I refuse to call her by her nickname. She's taking on Jasmine Jasudavicius. The biggest thing for me on this one, Brandon, I have to point out, okay, I used this example on my Friday show just this past week. Rory McDonald, okay, one of the most violent fighters the UFC's ever seen, moves over to Bellator, finds God, and then suddenly loses his edge. He doesn't want to hurt people anymore. He doesn't want to go to work with his hands anymore. The only finishes he had over in Bellator were by submission. He's talking about getting in there and glorifying God with his ability, not trying to hurt anybody, just want to do my best. And as soon as that switch flipped in his brain, he was a different person, and he was less of a person. Now, Ariane Lipski is dead. She is gone. She's buried. She's 6 feet under. There is no more Queen of Violence, you guys. She got married. She changed her last name. And she also has recently become very religious. And she's talking about wanting to get in there and praising God with her performance. And she does not want to hurt anybody anymore. And that showed in her last performance. She has no interest in being violent. Her mental shift is affecting the way she performs in the cage. Now, Karine Silva, definitely somebody who I'm not going to knock you for losing to. She's got some serious upside. She's on a bit of a run. She's a bit of a beast as well. But you know, that was a piss poor performance in my opinion. She looked like Lipski looked like she was gun shy, even when she had moments, even when she had opportunities. She wasn't going for it. She wasn't pulling the trigger, and maybe that loss will wake her up. You know, maybe she turns around and she fixes the things that are kind of going wrong. But you look at the last couple of her wins: JJ Aldrich decision, Melissa Gatto decision. She lost that fight, by the way. Casey O'Neill, she caught her in an armbar in round 2. Okay, but that's the only finish she's had in quite a while. And before that, she got KO'd in round 1 by Priscilla catch a beating. I've talked about the fighter formerly known as Ariane Lipski being very chinny in the past before. She can get tagged. She does not like getting touched on the jaw. She can be hurt. She's taking on Jasmine Jasudavicius this weekend. 11-3, 35 years old. And the last time we broke down a Jazz fight, I apologized. I apologize, Brandon. I've said some mean things about Jasmine Jasudavicius. And when she first got to the UFC, I told everybody, you know what? She is not good. She's just big. That's it. She's just big. And physicality in women's MMA wins fights. She beat Kay Hansen. I bet Kay Hansen. I rolled it right back, and I took just maybe the best spot of my life when I got Natalia Silva as a plus 200 underdog against her. I will always talk about that bet because it's aged just absolutely amazingly. But that one was the one that reinforced that I was right about Jasmine Jasudavicius, when in fact I was not. I was very wrong about Jazz, but I thought I was onto something because that Natalia Silva bet. Thankfully, I got a little bit of money back when I bet Tracy Cortez against her, but that's really the one that opened my eyes, man. When she went tooth and nail with Tracy, and with how close that fight was, I was like, oh shit, okay, I need to readjust the way I think about Jasmine Jasudavicius. She is big. She is strong. That will take her places, but she's also really good. She did really well in scrambles with Miranda Maverick and controlled her in a lot of that fight. She did really well in the grappling and counter grappling with Tracy Cortez. And then Priscilla Cachoeira, we know she's got no ability to grapple, but that was a one-sided ass whooping. Like, Priscilla's missing years off her life after that fight. Jasmine Jasudavicius is coming around at the ripe old age of 35, giving me hope that there's still time that I could do something at 36, 37 years old before I'm just withered dust and useless to everybody in the world. Man, I like Jazz a lot in this fight. She is durable. She's got that mean streak in her that, frankly, Lipski is missing at this stage of her life. And she actually hits pretty damn hard. If she's able to take Lipski down, which is not an easy task. That's the one thing I've always given Lipski credit for, is that she's got good, solid takedown defense. If she's able to get on top of Lipski, she's going to pound her out. I don't think she's going to submit her because Lipski is a very good defensive grappler. She's never been submitted before, but she has been KO'd 4 times. And with the ground and pound we saw from Jazz in her last fight, I actually think she can get that stoppage here, man. I like Jazz. I like Jazz a lot. And I think Lipski is somebody we're putting on the fade bucket list right now.
Ooh, ouch. I'm gonna go Lipski on this one.
There it
but
is.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not like I'm not all in sold on it. Here's why. I helped Casey O'Neill for the Lipski fight. Just like film studying, watching, and stuff like that. And I kept telling her like, hey, she's got very good first layer takedown defense, but really, like, a lot of people made a crazy big deal about her takedown defense, and it really is as simple as like a little baby underhook. That's all she did, just a baby underhook. And she's not good when people are moving side to side on takedown. right? So I was telling Casey, okay, shoot in, climb the back, you're going to get her down every time. Well, that fight didn't work out so well. It never even played out in the grappling. But then I was watching the Karine Silva fight, and again, I think Lipski's double leg defense and single leg defense is phenomenal. She really is like, she has leveled up big time. And honestly, having good single and double leg defense is good enough to beat most people. But it's weird because Jasmine is a body lock girl. She's not a double leg girl. She's a body lock girl. And every time that Lipski got taken down in the Karine Silva fight was all body locks. It was, I think one time she grabbed a single leg and then she redirected. And it was really, really nice and just big physicality. But most of it is body locks. But I think there's a really big difference between Jasmine and Karine. First of all, Karine is like the most steroids I've ever seen on a woman. That's like insane. They're not even trying to hide that she's the science experiment of most people, right? But she has very good jiu-jitsu also. I think Jazz is good and Jazz is positionally great. I picked her against Fatima. I was huge on her there. I picked her on your show as a big underdog. I can't remember who that was too. I love
I think Jazz. The Miranda Maverick fight is the one you picked.
Yeah, that's right. She's mean. She's nasty. I really, really do like Jasmine. I think she's probably going to stop going for takedowns at some point in this fight. Now we see a striking fight play out. And Lipski is so calm when it comes to the striking. She does put high volume. She's got really good check hooks. She's staying busy, constant volume. She likes to draw girls in. And as big and mean as Jasmine is, she's still kind of a wide, loopy striker. She's just as bigger and more physical than girls, and she'll put the volume together. I think that the cleaner, sharper punches are going to be by Lipski by far. So if we don't see a heavy grappling pace right from the start, and if she, even if she does grapple, if Lipski gets back up, I think this fight's going to play out a lot closer than the line indicates. So for me, this spot is definitely dog or pass. I don't think that Lipski can finish Jasmine, but I think she can tag her for sure. She's going to meet her right in the middle. She likes to crash the pocket, crash the distance. If she doesn't have the control of Silva, it's going to be a tough day for her, I believe. So I like Lipski in this spot.
Okay. All right. Big dog. And like I said, guys, every single card so far for the last 2 months, I've been able to find the bed shitter. So there you go. Plus 170 on Lipski is what Brandon is saying is live here. And I like the favorite. I'm willing to pony up and lay the chalk. We'll see how that goes. Canada was not good last time, guys. That needs to be said. That you guys need to remember. Like, we're coming off a card where it was in Abu Dhabi, and every single person that they wanted to win did. They tried this shit in Canada in the last card, and they got reverse swept. There might have been one Canadian that won the entire night on that card. So Canadian MMA is in the dumpster at the moment, you guys. I say that with love. I'm a honorary Canadian. I love Jillian Robertson. Cody Safdik's my guy. Like, I'm not trying to hate on Canada, but it's tough times over there right now. So we just need to bear that in mind here. All right. Next fight, Mike Malott returns, and boy, oh boy, are they trying to get this man back on the horse. They're giving him Trevin Giles. Okay. So, Brandon, I talked about how I've been able to find the bed shitter, right? I made a big statement with Robelis de Spain very recently. And everyone made fun of me. How can you trust that guy? And you know what? The UFC is giving him the biggest softball possible. They're trying to get this man on the horse. They're giving him a guy with terrible durability, not great cardio, who's not a good wrestler. And they're just going, bro, you got to get this one. You got to get this one. And he fumbled the bag. I was so confident that Robelis was going to find a way to win that fight because he should. The UFC did everything they could for him, and he still sucked up the joint, okay? Guys, they're doing the same thing with Mike Malott. Now, I have been a well-documented Mike Malott hater just because we saw what happened in his last fight. I don't trust the guy's cardio. I don't trust the guy's durability. And I've talked about that since he made it to the UFC. He's got 2 losses by KO. He has fought a very low level of competition. His offensive skills are spectacular. I can't talk trash about any of that, but I've talked about how he doesn't wear damage well, and then he tends to slow down. So if he's not the hammer, we've seen that not really work out well for him. Now, he had Neil Magny right up until the brink. I mean, we're talking final minute of the fight. He just completely collapsed. I don't think I've ever seen anybody death gas quite as hard as Mike Malott death gassed in that particular fight. But it kind of reinforced what we always knew was there. I don't like Mike Malott at big price tags, man. That's really just been the big thing. He went on this spectacular run against Mickey Gall, Johan Linus, which that one I knew he was going to win. But I took the stab on Adam Fugit against him because I thought Adam might be able to crack him and make him uncomfortable and drag him deep in that fight. So, I've been a little wary of Mike Malott, but the UFC is doing what they did for Robelis de Spain here, man. They're going, look, we need you to get on track. You're the guy for us in this market. Get the win and come home. Trevin, the problem, Giles, 16-6. He's 32 years old, and he's another guy that seems to have every skill in the book that you would want to be an MMA fighter. And he's just not built for it, man. He falls apart like something we've never seen before. He's on a 2-fight losing skid right now. I mean, tough dudes, Gabriel Bonfim, Carlos Prates, they're both doing really well at the moment, but big finishes. He was never really even in these fights, except for the Prates one, because, of course, I bet him that night. I was not a believer of Carlos Prates, so
he was winning. He was winning.
He looked so good. He looked so good. And then ate one punch that landed wrong in round 2 and died that night. But his wins over guys like Preston Parsons, a Koski brother, somehow he beat Dolidze back in the day, which to this day I'll never understand. It just more of a comment on Dolidze's IQ, I think, than
playing leg locks and talking shit while he was doing it. Yeah, it was insane.
Exactly. Oh man. So Giles, like I said, he's got a skill set that's high enough he could win this fight. But the fact is the durability, the IQ, that ability to dig deep and hang in the fight, I don't know if he's got that anymore. I will never lay a big price tag on Mike Malott, especially after what we saw in his last fight. The UFC is trying to get him a win here, but I can't, Brandon. I just can't. It's a guy that I've said that I'm going to stay away from. Neil Magny got the win, got the finish, got the comeback. Mike Malott probably gets right here. But I would never forgive myself if I parlayed Mike Malott and then Giles did what he did in the last fight against Prates, but just never stopped and TKO'd this guy in the third or something. So I'm out. I'll pick Mike Malott for the sake of the show, but I'm not betting this one.
I think that Mike Malott knockout is going to be Giles can't really take a shot anymore. He is really skilled. Yeah, he's really skilled. I mean, Giles is really, really skilled. He's got a great jab. His jiu-jitsu, honestly, is really good. He hangs in with everybody. I mean, the dude can grapple his ass off. Mike Malott's jiu-jitsu, I talked about it many, many times. I am a big Mike Malott hater. I'm very, very critical of most people's jiu-jitsu because I think it's not very good. Mike Malott can grapple his ass off. That dude is really, really solid grappler. And his striking has impressed me more than anything. That dude is, I thought he was just like a slow white boy, but he actually is really precise with his strikes, really, really clean. I think any cardio issues, he's going to have ironed them out since last time. I think, I don't think that Giles' chin can hold up. As much as I would love, this typically would be a spot where I'd bet Giles. I would love him here. That dude's, this reminds me of Whitaker and Hamzat last week. You have a guy that, has skills over 15 minutes, but then you're going to have that guy that's going to come bulldoze him and how's it going to go down? I think Malott's going to knock him out probably decently early, first round, second round. So I like Mike Malott here.
Hey, I hate money these days, but if we get partway through round 2 and Mike Malott's starting to breathe a little heavy and Giles is still hanging in there, maybe we'll take a live flyer, man. That's all I'm saying. But I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, live betting is the only way to play this game anymore.
Right. I mean, it seems to be that way. Except the problem for me, though, Brandon, is that I'm cursed. If I put out a tweet that somebody is striking way better than I ever imagined, they end up on their back 2 seconds later, giving up a takedown or something. Yeah. I control the fights, you guys. I don't know if you know this, but I actually secretly control how these fights go just by, saying something. The opposite is true. So I can't live bet because I used to have success live betting, but literally if the live bet number drops from plus 500 to plus 250 and I get in at plus 250, they get knocked out within about 30 seconds. That's how it goes. That's the game we play. All right, guys. Next fight up. Oh, boy. Marc-André Barriault, Canada's own, takes on Dustin Stoltzfus. Now, Dustin has been one of my guys in the past here, Brandon. He's one of the guys that...
Oh, really?
Oh, I know.
Jeez, I'm sorry.
I know. You know what? I've got this addiction to these mangy dogs that nobody believes in. I think it's because I'm a Vikings fan. The fact that we're always the underdog and we've sucked for years and years and we're trying to prove the world wrong. I've just got this attraction to these people that are not quite ever going to get there. But I believe somehow, some way they will, and they just never do. So that's kind of what gets me. I thought I was going to have sneaky value on Dustin Stoltzfus and in certain spots because he's got a lot of tools, man. Like, he's a good wrestler. He's very physically strong. He's a BJJ black belt. He's not a great striker, but he can kind of hammer people with those overhands. And, that's kind of what's happened. He's pulled the upset a couple times. I got on him against Punahele Soriano. I knew he was going to get nuked by Abus Magomedov, but I actually tried to fade Bruno Ferreira in his last fight with Dustin Stoltzfus because I thought he'd be able to take him out.
Weirdly enough.
Yeah. Because thank God I went back to the well this last time with Abus because I almost passed because I lost money on Dustin. I almost didn't bet Abus in this past weekend's fight against Bruno Ferreira because the fade angle, the mind track was still there. But anyway, I've kind of been attracted to Dustin Stoltzfus in the past. Not that way, you sick fucks. But betting wise, I felt like we could have got there a couple times. And like the Rodolfo Vieira fight, the Gerald Meerschaert fight, he was winning those fights right up until he got tired in round 3. And then he got finished in both of them. Like, that's just been the story of his career. He's right there. He almost can beat these guys, but not quite. So I've kind of decided that I think I'm done with Dustin Stoltzfus. And frankly, I think he's done as far as the UFC goes. That Bruno Ferreira spinning elbow in round 1, I think that's going to be real tough for him to come back on. I've got a hard time believing he's going to be able to pick himself up the same way and go back in there and go, all right, one more, folks. Let's go in there and get it. Marc-André Barriault's built his entire career on just melting people, like unreal cardio. He is 34 years old, so you got to wonder how long that's going to be the case. But he looked solid against my guy, Chris Curtis. And that's kind of maybe the best way I can actually describe a guy like Marc-André Barriault. He's a dude who can fight to a split decision with Chris Curtis. And that's a respectable spot in the UFC. If you can go out there and damn near win a fight against Chris, that means you're a pretty good fighter. I mean, I know a lot of people don't have the same opinion of Chris that I do, but he's very good everywhere. Marc-André, good hands, good boxing, good pace, likes to come forward. He can wrestle a bit. He can grapple a bit. He's not going to be a title challenger, but when you give him that step down in competition, he smokes these guys. Jordan Wright, Julian Marquez, like he's going to finish the guys who aren't quite up to stuff in those situations. If he beats, if he fights a Joe Pyfer or Chris Curtis, he's going to lose those. I think Marc-André is exactly the guy that we think he is. And Dustin Stoltzfus is too. And that's a guy that's going to slow down and gas out after looking good early. So I think Marc-André Barriault probably third round TKO. Again, the way the year's gone, probably a decision. But I think he's the side here, man. I think Marc-André is the move.
Yeah, Marc-André is the move. Obviously, Marc-André is the move. You got a lot of guys. Mab is my guy. I love Mab. Power bar. I think this is something interesting. Everyone talks about his cardio. I don't think his cardio is as good as people say that it is. The announcers love to go on and on and on and on about his cardio. It's okay. It's fine. It's not the best. It just isn't, especially when people grapple him. And that's my only worry in this fight is that that's a good comment by Dan.
It's a good quote.
That's definitely true. Yeah. That's my only worry in this fight is that if Stoltzfus doesn't die and he just retard grapples him over and over and over again, he could probably wear on Mab. I actually think that Stoltzfus probably has better cardio just on the style that he fights, right? He just gets beat like a piñata and then kind of comes on late. But honestly, realistically, I just don't see it. I think Mab is so much better. High volume, just he can crack hard. Like you said, Chris Curtis, I think, is an ultra veteran. That dude is phenomenal. He's so good everywhere. Amazing takedown defense, roll shots, counters well. And Mab, I had a bet on Chris Curtis in that fight. Mab gave it to him. That was a really, really close fight. Mab loses to guys that have big power or crazy grappling, like Fluffy, right? Stoltzfus doesn't really have either one of those. He's very, I don't know. He's plotting. He's not the guy. He's plotting and he's slow and he's clunky and nothing is sharp, and Mab's going to kill this guy. I think Mab 2-3 knockout is probably the move, especially coming off a big knockout like that. Mab's going to kill this guy. Let's go Mab.
I like it. Honestly, man, I'm a little surprised the line's as short as it is. He's under -200 at this point. And again, I'm the guy who usually makes the argument for Dustin Stoltzfus. So I'm wondering, am I missing something here? That's what spooks me out these days, Brandon, is I know too much. So like when I see a suspect line, I'm like, what am I missing?
Yeah, if he's under 200, then I'm probably going to hit that straight after we get off the show.
I don't mind it, man. I don't mind it one bit. And like you said, probably around 2-3 KO. I would lean maybe a little more towards 3, but I guess it depends on, the status of Dustin coming in after that KO loss. Sometimes that we see that knockout loss sometimes takes its toll on the next fight. If he's not all the way back physically or mentally after that, it could come earlier. So I don't mind the KO prop there for Marc-André. Brizzy 2K in the chat asking, Clint, are you actually placing wagers? And Brizzy, this has been a regular talking point on Twitter. Everybody likes to go after this, and they're all fucking stupid. Unfortunately, yes, I am. And that's the hard part. This is not a pretend losing streak. I'm getting my ass whooped, and that's why I always tell you guys proper bankroll management and make sure you're never gambling more than you can afford to lose, because shit like this happens. A lot of people have just as bad, if not worse, gambling records than me. They just don't publicly show it. I'm doing it out here in front of all you guys. I'm letting it hang. I'm letting my long winter socks dangle over here. You guys got to see it. Not everybody shows off what they're losing. I'm showing you guys what I'm losing, and trust me, it sucks. So, elephant in the room. There you go. All right, next fight up, we've got Caio Machado, and he's taking on Brendson Barriault. Brandon, what do I do with this fight? I'm honestly confused. This don't know. This fight's a mess. These guys, I am not sure what either of these guys are really all that good at. I mean, Brendson Barriault is your classic Dana White's Contender Series, 100% finish rate, mean Brazilian. He just goes out there and goes life and death with people. He's never won a decision in his life. He's been knocked out 3 times. He's been submitted twice. He tried to wrestle a guy named Jasudavicius. I mean, how am I ever supposed to trust your in-fight decision-making when you're going out there trying to actively take down a man named Jasudavicius? That's just bad decision-making. Got, absolutely flatlined by Mingyang Zhang in round 1. So he's 0-2 in the UFC off Dana White's Contender Series. He had been finished in round 1 several times on the regional scene before he got to Contender Series. He just seems like a fun fighter that's probably not going to be around for all that long. They'll keep him around as long as he's getting fight of the night bonuses. But man, he could be one of these 0-3 cut type of candidates. Caio Machado, 8-3 and 130 years old. This guy is the opposite, where he's never been finished. He's only lost decisions, but he's also 0-2 in the UFC. I got one more ride for the good guys on Don'Tale Mayes the last time out, which butthole puckered the entire 15 minutes, but we got there, man. He lost to Don'Tale Mayes and Mick Parkin. Before that, he looked like he was doing pretty well, with only one pre-UFC loss to his name. Relatively finisher. A lot of these heavyweights coming into the UFC are round 1 guys, big ground and pound, takes people down. Seems like he's got okay, strikes on the feet, and then arm bars, big guys doing arm bars. That's not really a thing. So you can't count that to continue here in the UFC. But the big news for this fight, guys, is Caio is dropping from heavyweight to light heavyweight. He's a short favorite coming in here in this spot against Brendson Barriault, and I got to tell you, Brandon, I think that's probably a good move. He was a little undersized at heavyweight. He was a little flabby at heavyweight, which I know most heavyweights are. But you could tell he's got space to lose, right? So he's cutting down to 205. As long as he can make this cut happen, I think he'll be more effective down at 205 pounds. And maybe that grappling game will be something that he can implement here. I lean with Caio Machado just because naturally maybe the bigger guy, used to pushing bigger guys around, and I'm just not a fan of backing these life and death guys. Brendson Barriault might be able to clip him early with a big shot or something, but if he doesn't, I know Brendson breaks pretty easily. I think Caio's shown that he's at least a little bit more durable, willing to hang in there. Not a fight that I have a ton of confidence on, man. I'll say Caio Machado, but probably not betting. Keeping my hands in my pockets for this one. What about you?
This is crazy to see Caio Machado as favorite in the UFC. It's like a crazy thing. Like, the dude is like the BFL champ, the regional Canadian scene is crazy. But I think he's going to win this fight. And that's crazy because you see this like juiced up Jack Brazilian with all these crazy knockouts, knocked out that dude on Contender Series who's really, really good. It's weird to see, but Caio is tough. He is durable. Honestly, he hung in with those guys. He hung in with Don'Tale, hung in with Mick. Like, they were like good fights. he is so weird and so scrambly. And as long as he stays okay and safe in the first round, I think he's going to end up on top somehow, some way, and he's going to punish him. It's not like Ribeiro has an incredible chin. That dude goes out with the breeze goes and he's out, put to sleep. So, like, Caio is going to win him just on retard strength and power and just heart and desire to win. Maybe that 205 move will be good for him. Maybe it won't be as good because maybe he's he's better at fighting the slower, fatter people, right? And he can kind of move better than them. But I think he's going to win this fight. Seeing him as a favorite is crazy, especially against this big guy. But maybe a live entry is even better. Let Ribeiro fire all his bullets, and then he gets grappled, and then Caio ends up sweeping him, get to the top, finish him. I like Caio in this spot.
The only problem with the live entry on this one is that it might be over too fast. I'm not sure that once Caio decides to go, it's going to last much longer after that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah. I like Caio. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll start 3 and then look to add.
We're both on the same side here with Caio. And so this is the one, guys, just like last week, the initial read was Caio. I said I shouldn't bet it. I'm not flipping sides. Like, if I do anything this week, it will be betting a little on Caio. It won't be flipping to the other side and pretending like there's an advantage I never saw in the first place over there. Just that's it. Keep me straight. If I'm talking about Brendson and Barriault on Friday, the chat, you better be blowing me up. You guys absolutely better lambast me for even thinking about it, okay? We're not doing it this week. Guys, we got 2 more fights to talk about. We've got 750 live viewers tonight, even with Monday Night Football going. Thank you all so much for being here talking UFC Edmonton. My guy Brandon Olivas joining us to talk about these fights and break it down here on the Home of Fight. Definitely appreciate him. Make sure you give him a follow, although you'll have to do it on Instagram where he posts incredible training pictures and good stuff, because I don't think you're on Twitter anymore, right?
I have a backup Twitter account. It's been nice to have a little break from Twitter, spending too much time.
I don't blame you, man. I'm, unfortunately that, I decided to build my base on Twitter. And so I can't take a break from it. You're just kind of stuck there, good or bad, once you're in. So I'm all in, baby. Balls deep. Next up, we've got Derek Lewis, and he's taking on Jonathan Denise. Oh, man. Okay. So I've been able to revive my run here on Derek Lewis recently, man. He got knocked out by a couple people, got taken down by a couple people, and people forgot. People forgot about the Black Beast. We were getting just these amazing price tags against guys like Rodrigo Nascimento and against guys like Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Like I was on a cold, icy mountain by myself alone at the top of the hill when they made that Marcos Rogerio de Lima fight, man. People were best betting Derek Lewis and screaming it with their whole chests that Marcos was the best bet you could make in your lifetime in that fight. And I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Derek Lewis is old, but he's a heavyweight. The last thing to go is power, and he absolutely has still got that, and he's still an athletic freak. Every once in a while he'll throw like a jumping, leaping kick or something like that to throw everybody off the scent, and he mixes in takedowns sometimes, which is always hilarious. He has the patented fuck you, get up game. You're not allowed to hold him down. He can just straight bench press you and stand up whenever the hell he feels like it. So unless he's fighting somebody like a Sergey Spivak, they can just kind of chain grapple him and consistently keep him down. That game plan really doesn't work. The guys that he falls victim to are the power punchers of the weight class. The guys that are better strikers than him, that can find their moments and their opportunities to tag him when he can't load up on a big power shot, the way he did when he just absolutely nuked guys like Chris Dawkins or Curtis Blades, So that's the problem here for me, Brandon. That's the problem, is because he's fighting Jonathan Denise. Now, the UFC has gone so far to protect this 8-0 undefeated Brazilian monster that they let Carl Williams know if he shot a takedown, he was getting cut right then and there on the spot. So Carl Williams had to stand and trade. I mean, I know it's a joke. There's rumors flying around though. They were telling him to be more entertaining. You know what I mean? And then he goes out there and gets his ass whooped and decides to shoot for takedowns late in the fight when he realized he was way behind, and they came easy peasy lemon squeezy, and he could have easily won that fight if he had just gone out there and grappled. But the one guy that you can count on to shoot takedowns in the UFC is suddenly striking. Like, everyone thought it was kind of an interesting thing, especially with the way the UFC has been going with their entertainment value and telling guys to take risks and, all that kind of stuff. We're pretty sure somebody had a backstage meeting with Carl right before the fight. Nothing can be proven, though. Just thoughts here. At any rate, this guy Deniz showed that he can't grapple, at the UFC level. Him knocking out Austin Lane the way he did is the reason why I felt like I could go hard on Robelis to Spain. So that was kind of the game plan there for that one. He's fought an extremely low level of competition, but obviously he's, a world-class kickboxer. He's got a good chin. He's aggressive. He likes to come forward. Solid striking game. This is exactly the kind of guy that causes Derek Lewis problems. Now, I did mention that, believe it or not, Derek Lewis is capable of taking people down when he feels like it. And frankly, if he gets on top of Jonathan Deniz, I don't know that Deniz is getting up, because once Derek Lewis is on top of you, he's so big, he's so heavy. If he actually came out with any kind of a, semi-grappling game plan, I think he could make this fight look real easy. And Derek Lewis carries his power late. He's a guy that he's got several round 3 knockouts. He hangs in there and survives. And then when people kind of let their guard down a little bit, he nukes them, uncorks late in the fight when they're not expecting it. I will only ever argue for a way to take plus money on Derek Lewis, because he's been exceptionally underrated as of late. And these plus money price tags are something that we didn't necessarily used to get. Plus 145 on Derek Lewis sounds like a damn good time to me. The only problem is I know Deniz is a much, much better striker than him. I don't have totals yet, but the one thing you can always count on with Derek Lewis is over 1.5 usually seems to be priced pretty generously, because they think he's going to come out and throw a flying knee and then never does. So he ends up going to decision or getting a late round 2 KO, and you can cash that over 1.5. It's a greasy way to play it, but usually those bad boys cash. So I'll be looking for that and see what the total looks like when it gets out. I think I kind of have to pick the UFC's plan, Jonathan Deniz, to come out and win this fight and find a way to knock out Derek Lewis, man. But I really don't want to. I want to find a way to be able to back Derek Lewis with my money on Saturday, because he's been good to me and I'm a fan. So combo, I want to be on that side. I'm just not sure I can get there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I watched the Deniz Carl Williams fight, at least round 3, when he was starting to get takedowns. And actually, I was really weirdly impressed by Deniz's first level takedown defense, and then his ability and want to stand up. He definitely has a sense of urgency to try to get up. I don't know if I can see a 15-minute Derek Lewis grappling game plan, especially without getting tagged and without getting hurt. Yeah, especially without getting tagged and getting hurt somewhere in the process. Deniz is patient. I really, really do like his patience. Like, he kind of takes what's available. He's not forcing these big knockouts, and then he finds them with natural power. I think this is a setup spot for Deniz. I'm probably going to play Deniz with a little bit of ferocity on this one. And not that, listen, you, Santino, you guys are much bigger Derek Lewis guys than I am. You guys always call him, and he's lost me a lot of money by winning, continuously winning. I think this is a Deniz spot right here, so I'm going to bet on Deniz.
Derek and Dreykus, man, wake up. What are you doing?
Yeah, seriously. Oh, Dreykus kills me.
Oh, gotta love it, man. Yeah, I wish I could get to a Derek Lewis here. I really do, but I'm with you. I do think it's a setup fight for Deniz. He's the exact type of fighter that's given Lewis problems in the past. So either got to play that side or pass. You know what I mean? I'm not the type of guy. I don't bet the Vikings on Sunday, man, unless I'm like 1,000% confident they're winning, because I can't handle losing twice. If I'm a fan of somebody, I can't put money on them just for the sake of like cheering them on. I can't handle the double loss. Some people,
yeah, it's the worst, money and pride.
Exactly, right? Some people like to do the emotional hedge, right? Well, they'll bet against their boy, because then it's like, well, if he lost, I won money. It makes me feel gross. I can't do that either. So I either got to be like solid that I'm winning this bet, otherwise it's not worth it. I can't put $5 on Deniz and then be like, yay, Derek lost. Like, no, it's got like if I want to do that, I'm gonna go for the jugular. So can't do it. Small world lifters in the chat saying, Clint, just tuned in. Why are you dressed like that? Baby, it's Halloween. Have you never seen Tropic Thunder? I mean, what are we doing here? You uncultured fucks. I'm kidding. I love you. You know that. All right, guys. It's main event time. Let's go. We got Rose Namajunas. She's taking on Erin Blanchfield. And I don't think that's the main event of the evening. What am I doing? Am I out of order?
No, you
Did I
just
forget
said
to
it
click
was the
something?
last 2 fights, but last fight it's 3 fights.
I am missing a tab. That's what's going on. It's my last open tab, and that's okay. It is not the main event of the evening, guys. I saw Rose and was like, hold up. So we've got your co-main event of the evening, Rose Namajunas and Erin Blanchfield here. Man, I'm in a little bit of pain with Rose Namajunas because she looks just again, just uncultured eye test over here, right? She looks to me like she's bordering on shot, like she's headed the wrong direction. She looks to me like she's a little slower. She looks to me like we're seeing her get tired late in fights where we didn't used to. And the killer instinct isn't quite there. And she's not hurting people the same way she used to. But man, she just keeps winning. Like it's so frustrating because I feel like I'm betting on the decline of Rose Namajunas and it just ain't happening. So like she fought to a split decision with Manon Fiorot, the number one contender, potentially the future title holder of this weight class, and that's not a bad loss to take. Okay. And then she beats Amanda Hebos. She beats Tracy Cortez. I really thought Tracy was going to be able to take her down and control her. That one was a tough night for me because I actually really believed in Tracy Cortez that night, and it didn't really go my way. So I've gone from being able to back Rose with confidence. She was someone I was able to read pretty solidly back in the day. The Andrade rematch, the Weili Zhang fights, like I've got a good history betting Rose Namajunas. And now I'm just not seeing the path clearly because I feel like she's not quite as good as she was, but she keeps winning. So instead of betting on someone with success, I'm trying to fade them for no reason and losing money instead. Very irritating. But Rose is one of the most well-rounded fighters on planet Earth, man. Like she's good. She's good everywhere. She can strike. She's got power. She's got that head kick she likes. She can scramble. This girl is nasty when she gets on your back. But I just thought Tracy was going to be able to put her on her back and keep her down there and do enough to win 3 of the 5 rounds. Now I'm looking at this fight and going, man, Blanchfield might be able to do what I thought Tracy Cortez could have done. You know, she's 25 years old. I know everyone's kind of cooled their jets on her a little bit, but it's the same situation, man. She was on a hell of a win streak. She was everybody's baby, and then she lost to Manon Fiorot. Fiorot might be the best fighter in this weight class. Fiorot might be the champion of this division. Like that was just a little too much for her in that spot. She fought closely with Taila Santos. Taila Santos is a beast. Just because you fought closely that night and you got by somebody like that, that's a big feather in your hat, in my opinion. And her taking out withered Jessica Andrade, I don't care at what stage of life you beat Jessica Andrade. I think it's something to have Jessica Andrade on your resume, even when she's just kind of fighting for profit. Like she's still dangerous as shit. So I love Erin Blanchfield. I like the way she relentlessly wrestles, and she's a much bigger girl. She's thick, man. She's meaty. It's a good way to put it. She's very physical. I think she can maybe come out here and out grapple Rose Namajunas, but I think this fight's going to be close. And that's the thing that kind of bothers me here is we're getting into another women's MMA fight where Rose has a long storied history of going to split decisions, and it makes it very, very tough to bet for or against her because her fights generally end up being very, very tight and competitive. So I think I'm going to pick Erin Blanchfield to get the win here, but we're talking close to a coin flip price tag. Rose maybe still has got it, and I'm just reading the room wrong, man. What do you like here?
Man, this fight is the biggest toss-up to me because I think the lateral movement of Rose is going to cause a lot of issues for Blanchfield. I was on Blanchfield against Andrade, and for some reason, I had thought that her cage wrestling, just her wrestling in general, was much better than it actually is. Right? She hasn't really been able to get a lot of people down in a long time. She couldn't really get Taila down. She couldn't really get Andrade down. She couldn't get Manon down. She couldn't get anybody down because her game has developed, and it's weird because I used to feel that she was so good, right? She would shoot double legged in the center of the cage, get girls down, and her jiu-jitsu, like her top game is excellent. It's some of the best top game in the UFC, at least in the women's division. But her wrestling has just been so poor. And now you're talking at the highest level. You're talking about Rose, who's been a champion, who's beaten good people, who just beat Tracy, who I know firsthand how good her wrestling is. Like what's Blanchfield going to do? Just like her striking is not good. She's just one of those like Terminator. I'm just going to walk through everything and just keep charging at you. And a lot of times that gets her picked apart, but she's just going to charge at you and then push you on the cage and then try to do that. Like it's hard when you have someone that's at such a high level as Rose is with takedowns, with defending. And Rose always does put together good game plans too. That's the part that I worry about. I see what you're saying. Like this fight could play out extremely close, especially in the later rounds, as Blanchfield's just pressuring. One thing that was told to me by Rose's manager, who actually is my manager too now, it's never been a cardio issue with Rose. It's been a mental issue. At some point in the second, third, fourth round, she kind of checks out mentally, and that's why she kind of like looks like she's getting exhausted. But it's really not. She goes a million rounds in the gym all the time. Man, I'm so in between on this one. I think I'm gonna play Rose to start. We're gonna watch the first couple rounds, see how it goes, and then maybe a live entry. But I'm very split on this one. I'll pick Rose for now.
Okay, so we're picking opposite sides on this one, guys, but it is a very close fight, and it's lined very closely. We've been seeing a lot of these changing of the guard type of fights recently, and the Young
That's what
Bucks
worries
are,
me.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. The Young Bucks are dethroning the aged, withered veterans, man. It's a big thing going on right now, and I think we see that continue on Saturday, whether by hook or by crook. I think Aaron Blanchfield will end up getting the decision, but I completely expect this fight to be close. So those of you guys who are convicted, and really want to make a move on this fight, I'm going to wish you luck. It ain't me. Like, I just don't have that type of conviction in this type of a fight. It's we're getting close to contender level status. It's a coin flip type of fight, priced well. Pick your side. More power to you. All right. Last fight of the night, you guys. We got one more for you here. For real this time. Main event time. Brandon Moreno, and he takes on Amir Albazi, my boy, Brandon Moreno. You guys know this. Maybe the single most profitable section of my life, the right way to say that, Brandon, was the Figueiredo quadrilogy, whatever they did. I don't know what it was. I've never been more dialed in my life. I called every single one of those. I had Brandon Moreno in the first fight as an underdog. I had Brandon Moreno inside the distance. I had him by sub. I had him round 3. I mean, like, I hit that fight like nothing you've ever seen before. One of the single most profitable nights of my life. And then in the rematch, all I did was bet the over. I kept my play close to my chest. I didn't put too many chips in. I was like, this fight is going to go the distance. Everyone is expecting this fight to finish because the way the last fight went, it's going over. And I want Brandon Moreno to win, but I'm not going to bet against him. I'll just say over. Got the over 2.5 in on that one, or 3.5, I think is what it was at that point. And then when they brought it back the other way, I told everybody it was a sub last time. It's going to be the knockout this time, baby. And I did the same freaking thing. Brandon Moreno money line, KO, 3, 4, 5 sprinkles. So we hit the round 3 finish prop on that one as well. I mean, just I want those guys to keep running that fight back, because if they could just fight every weekend, I'd be the best handicapper on planet Earth. But those days are over. Those days are gone. I bet my guy Brandon against Alexandre Pantoja, and I lost the split. Alexandre Pantoja is public enemy number 1, you guys. I hate that guy. I've lost so many split decisions trying to fade Alexandre Pantoja. It pisses me off. It absolutely drives me freaking nuts. And then the Roy Val fight was the one that I had to go hands off, man, because Roy Val also has been my guy. So the Brandon versus Brandon fight was really, really tough for me, knowing how evenly matched those two guys were and how much I've had success betting on both of them. I was like, just hands off. But the big kind of story for me on this fight is Deiveson Figueiredo figured out after the fights with Brandon Moreno that they had taken a toll on him. He figured out that he needed a break. He figured out that he needed to step away from the cage for a while, let his mind heal, let his body heal, get right. And now Figgy's doing things again. Now, Figgy looks like $1 million right now. He's up a weight class. He's a contender again. He's winning fights, but he took that time off. Brandon, as the guy who had the belt, as the champion, he didn't have that luxury. He didn't take the time off. He didn't take the break. He didn't recover. And because of that, he's on a 2-fight losing streak. I mean, the guy is so insanely skilled. He's so well-rounded. He's such a good scrambler. You can't keep this guy down. Jiu-jitsu for days. And even though he's smiling at you and making that weird half smirk thing he does in the cage at you the whole time, this guy can pop. He can crack. He's got hands. His boxing is smooth. He's legitimately one of, if not the best fighter in this weight class. And he kind of always has been. And it's been that way for a long time. So I don't want to doubt Brandon Moreno. He's a guy I've made a lot of money on. He's a guy I've been a fan of since The Ultimate Fighter. You know, he was the one that I was really sad about when the UFC cut the weight class, because I thought he was so good. He was so fun. I wanted to see him thrive, and then he was gone. So I was so excited when they came back and they got this weight class going, because I was able to see the rise of Brandon Moreno, and he was an underdog a lot. So we cashed a lot of tickets in on him. But we talked about changing the guard, man. Next generation is nipping at the heels. Amir Albazi, 17-1, 31 years old, firmly in his prime, and another guy that I've had decent success betting on. He's had a really good run in the UFC. He took out Malcolm Gordon, Francisco Figueiredo, which, you know, the lesser of the Figgy brothers, but the Alessandro Costa win was a good one. And then they gave him Kai Kara-France. Now that fight has aged pretty spectacularly. Kai Kara-France is on his way to a title shot right now, and having a close competitive fight with that man on your record is not a bad thing. I like Amir Albazi's hands. I like his ability to mix in the chain grappling and the wrestling. The one thing that does concern me a little bit is the Kai Kara-France decision, I believe, was pretty contested. I went back, and I think 2 out of 23 available media personalities scored that fight for Amir Albazi. So it was the judges ringside and then 2 people at home that scored that fight for him. Everybody else on planet Earth scored that fight for Kai Kara-France. So a tough split decision to win. And back in the days when I used to catch bounces gambling, Brandon, because I cashed an Amir Albazi ticket that night. And I've been waiting for this guy to come back. Now, thankfully, you volunteered to come on the podcast tonight and talk a little bit about this one here, because he's been gone for a long time. I believe he had a surgery of some sort, some injury that kept him out for a bit that he's been recovering from. Really hot prospect, a guy that I knew was destined for, you know, contending for the title here one of these days. And here we are. My gut always and forever will say Brandon Moreno, but like we talked about, that's because I'm a massive, massive fan of this man. And it's fights like this that make me have to kind of check myself, because I'm a fan of him. I want to bet him. I've had a strong history betting him, so I want to go back to the well. But somewhere along the line, I'm worried that he's been in the game a little too long. You know, that not taking the break to rest and recover and get it back the way that Figueiredo did, turning around now and taking this fight and getting right back in there. I'm not sure it's the best thing for him. You know, he said he was going to walk away and take a breather. He fought Alexandre Pantoja in 2023. He fought Brandon Royval early 2024. I didn't think we were going to see him again till next year, but here he is fighting for a second time in 2024 against a very tough competitor. I feel like he might be taking another fight too quickly without really letting himself get away from the sport and let his body fully relax and recover, get his mind right, that kind of thing. And I feel like that could make a big, big factor here. If Albazi's firing all cylinders and Moreno's not, that could be the difference in this fight. I'm going to take a back seat, man. Love to hear what you got for us. I know you talked about having some experience. Let us know what's the read here.
Well, obviously I can't say a lot because it is my teammate and Santino will be out there, and we never talk about our people. But maybe I wanted to open it up. I don't know how much you interact with the people in the live chat, but if they had any questions, anything that I could answer.
Yeah.
And obviously nothing like game planning or anything like that. But I guess I can speak on.
First question is, what's the game plan,
yeah.
Brandon?
Yeah, what's the game plan? How's this? Let's see. So I see a question, neck injury. Yeah, it was his neck. It was pretty bad. So the severity of it, I mean, like he had the neck injury and he couldn't hold mitts for people and he couldn't hit mitts because the impact of the actual like the glove hitting the mitt was too much for his neck. And so he took it he healed way ahead of time. I'm pretty sure he was supposed to have some insane recovery time and he healed like way, way faster than that. The entire time that he was hurt, he was riding the bike, he was going on runs. He was doing as much as he possibly could while still being hurt, right? He eased back into it. He hasn't shown any signs. Like I got to work with him a lot for this camp. He had kind of run his own practices for a while. He would kind of recruit guys and he was working nonstop with all kinds of grapplers, submission guys. He was doing rounds and rounds and rounds. I mean, I've been watching him go 5 rounds for weeks now. He comes in 2-3 times a day, does a strength conditioning, napping. Like the guy is very, very serious about everything that he does. He's a super hard worker. He's a really, really good grappler. He knows his stuff. Let's see.
anybody has questions, chat is open.
Yeah,
guys.
I don't see any. I don't see any questions.
To jump on in with questions if you got any.
I have a funny anecdote about Brendon Moreno too. So Moreno used to live here in Arizona, and he started at Fight Ready just before I got there, or he had left just before I got there. He was living with Cejudo. I think a lot of people kind of know that backstory just a little bit. And he was a champion here in Arizona in a local promotion called WFF. And so what was funny is at the time when I was competing in jiu-jitsu full time, before I had started MMA, I was what we call the roosterweight division, which I think is 122 with a gi on. So you have to be about 118 pounds. Yeah, I was really small. And I would win gold every tournament, every blue belt tournament. I would win gold. And what was funny, and I didn't know this until years later, is that one weight class right above me, right? Because I was in Arizona, Moreno was in Arizona, is he was competing the light featherweight division, blue belt. So I would take gold at roosterweight, and Brendon Moreno would take gold at light featherweight. Or I'm sorry, light featherweight. Yeah, light feather. Yeah. So we would take gold back to back every tournament the same. And what's funny is actually one of his good friends from Mexico, like at the U.S. Nationals, asked me to like borrow a rash guard, and I gave it to him so he could use. And I never got that rash guard back, and it was rare and exclusive. So Moreno, you owe me that rash guard. But just like close proximity with a lot of these guys, and my style actually really became a lot more similar to Brendon Moreno over time too. Just a heavy guard passing, good scramble, stuff like that. Let's see. Do I think that Albazi could submit Moreno? That's a really good question. Albazi, I think, is a more control grappler than I think he is a really solid submission grappler. And I say that with all due respect because I think Moreno is a good black belt, man. I think he's really, really solid. Like he knows how to scramble out of positions. He knows when he's safe, when he's not. And I worry that if Amir goes too hard for those sells out for submission, it's going to cause some trouble down the line.
Did you take Amir Albazi's back? That's what I want to know.
No.
Were you ever able to get his back?
No comments on that. Okay. Yeah, I can't say anything about that.
Okay, all right.
Good rounds, good competitive rounds. But that being said, I'm a lot bigger than him now. You know, he's been cutting weight for the fight. He's in great shape. The dude is shredded out. I have not had a fight, so I'm fat and happy, and I'm a good grappler too. So, no comments on that. Man, he's solid. One thing I will say too, I brought my girl to Fight Ready to watch us spar one of these days, and I've been in there with a lot of guys swinging really hard at me. Everything that little fucker threw was so hard, like the leg kicks, the jabs, like everything that he threw just had such a sting to it. Where nothing, he never rocked me or hurt me, but every time I'm like, ooh, I don't know how long I want to put up with this because this is a lot of firepower coming at me. So, Albazi's really solid, man. I really hope our team does well. Yeah, there's been a lot of people that try to come to the gym and they can't come because we have the guy in the division. So I hope this is a successful trip for Albazi and Santino and the whole gym. And it's good to have that high-level training. At Fight Ready right now, we have such an amazing roster of little flyweights. I don't even know if I'm allowed to be one anymore because I'm pretty big now. But just a great training camp overall. That dude works extremely hard. I don't see anything wrong with his neck. Like he hasn't shown it at least. He's been sparring with everybody. So it should be a really, really good fight.
That's awesome, man. All right. Well, hey, thank you for coming on and talking to us about this one. I know that's a bit of a challenge considering the proximity to the fight, but we definitely appreciate you giving us all that you can. You guys know I'm Team Fight Ready. That's my local gym that I absolutely love and cheer for with everything I got. My boy Brandon, always nice enough to share with us and come on the podcast and give us his time. And if I can make an argument for Fight Ready, man, I usually do. And more often than not, I'm betting on Fight Ready than against. Unfortunately, I'm picking Brendon Moreno in this one. So that's what we'll split ways on this one and bring it back around for the next one. I promise, though. So that's the read.
That's
for me,
right.
You guys.
That's right.
It happens, man. Unfortunately, in this game, you got to pick a side. You know what I mean? And that's where it's tough sometimes. And people always think that I suck up to my guests or I suck up to the fighters that I like and stuff. And, to a certain extent, that's true. You want to be complimentary, especially when someone like yourself is given the time and stuff like that. But I make the picks that I pick, guys. And unfortunately, it's not always with the people that I want to root for. And that's, Brian Kelleher is a perfect example. I knew he was getting finished in his last fight and couldn't do shit about it. You know, it's just, that's the way it goes sometimes, unfortunately. I still wanted to wish him well and hope he won the fight. It didn't happen. So, you know, then it is what it is. But I'm picking Brandon Moreno, unfortunately. We'll end it on that. Brandon, thank you so much for the time this evening, man. Definitely want to give you a minute here. What you got going on? What do you want to tell the people, or if they can support you, or, you know, you're in Santino's show coming up. What do you want to do? Go ahead. Floor is yours, man.
Yeah, for one, thanks so much for having me back on. I know I had to cancel last time. My phone was going haywire. So much stuff was going on. So thanks for having me back on. I don't ever want you to think like, hey, I'm trying to get out of this, or I don't want to. Like, I love coming on the show, chatting with you, doing the show. We have Santino DeFranco. If you guys look us up on YouTube, if you're new to us, to our channel, we do a podcast every week as well. This one's going to be a little delayed because Santino's on dad duty, weirdly enough. So we got to catch him before he goes to Edmonton. We're going to have to do a remote podcast, unfortunately. So look up Santino DeFranco on YouTube. Yeah, we have the Patreon. So it's patreon.com/MMA breakdowns and bets. Last week I hit, I don't know, plus 500 bare knuckle, but the bare knuckle is always crazy. So good. We have a UK event this weekend, so that's awesome. We cracked LFA. We cracked a bunch of big underdogs. I was on Rombeski and a couple other good underdogs. So yeah, if you guys want, just check us out, Santino DeFranco on YouTube. You'll catch our show, and then the Patreon. Other than that, just follow me on Instagram, Brandon Olivas with an A.
There you go. All right, guys, that is the Die Hard MMA podcast for this week. And I will be posting any of Clint's cursed picks out on social media, depending on what I decide to pull the trigger on this week. I actually did not come into the show with any bets this week so far. The ass whooping I took at UFC 308, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pump the brakes. You know, I just got out of a rough relationship. I don't need to rush into anything serious right away. So I'm going to take it slow on this one and do what I can. But, you know, every time I say I'm going to take it slow, I end up seeing this gorgeous redhead walking down the hall, and I can't help it. I got to rush in and give her my best pickup line, try and riz her up if I can. So, you know, I'm going to end up with some action on this card eventually, but nothing locked in yet. I'll post stuff when I get there. Brandon, thank you again so much for coming on the show. And, everybody kick some ass this week. Hope you guys make some money. And if you would like to, I'm heading on back home, guys. Right after the podcast, I am going to be jumping on live with Pub Sports Radio to watch the second half of the Monday Night Football game. Going to go hang out with Jimmy the Bag and the boys like old times. So if you guys want to come and hang out and have some fun over there, live betting football stuff, join over there and we'll have a good time. I posted the link on my Twitter. If you want to find that, go ahead and go grab it. And no, just always love you guys. Love the content, love the respect, love you people in the chat, even the haters. Yes, even like the asshole Haunter who's here every single week giving me shit. I love you too. Thank you for the support, and we'll see you next week. Have a great time, guys. Let's roll.